Yes, money can be the topic that we just kind of get real quiet about and don't talk about.
Of
And
course.
it's my favorite thing to talk about.
Wow. For me, for a very, very long time was something what I avoided even to think about, not yet, talk about. I had so many beliefs about this bad money and these bad people who are rich. And, I was grown up in Eastern Europe, so you can imagine. So, but can you share what are most common limiting beliefs from your experience when you are working with people?
Mhm. So, I mean, like you just mentioned one of them, like, oh, it's those rich people that, and it becomes so rich people is a super common one because then there's a place where the rich person is someone other than us. And as soon as they're other than, we can never be that. And so we have all this judgment about rich people. And so the work we're here to do in the world, we can't be that. Our brains are protecting us from being that. And so then we're not sharing our work in the world. So, I mean, the rich people one is a good one. Having to work hard, right? To hustle, to grind, to work hard. And that's the only way it's okay to make money. That's another huge belief, and if we're trying to have more ease and more joy, is hustling and grinding and all of that to get by what we really want. It's like, oh, that's not it either. And, then we think about being productive and then we realize, okay, I'm procrastinating all these things. That's not helpful either. And then we look at, just money and like, am I good enough? Self-worth, all of those things start to come in. And especially in the work that you're doing here, all of those things are keeping us from that unity, that growth, that expansion that we want to have.
Yes, but sometimes it's not so obvious. Where is this connection? Can you talk more about it?
Mhm. And I mean, isn't that the interesting? It's like, wait, how did those are connected? I never would have thought those could have been connected. So I like to say that money touches every area of our lives, which is, people are like, no, money's not all that. But, money is where we live. It's what we drive. It's the food we have available to us. You know, it's all of these things. What do we have available to us? And so when we start looking at money, not from a necessarily capitalist point of view, but from okay, how does this impact the world we live in? How does this impact the world I live in? Okay, well, I can travel more if I have more money. Well, that's something I really enjoy. So when we start to look at how do we bring these pieces in, right? We take money because, so many people have taken money and it's bad and it goes up on the shelf as bad. But you know what? Money would allow me to travel more. Okay, great. A little more money allows me to travel further or, to other, to really fun places. And so when we start to really look at what money means and take the money is bad off the shelf, or only rich people have money, and we take that off the shelf and we open that book up and we say, oh wait, money allows me to travel, right? I mean, that's what you're doing now, right? Money allows me to travel. Okay, well, maybe money's not so bad, but it really takes going back in and looking at what did we have programmed in as children about what money meant, and then looking at that and walking through that in a way that is different than what we are commonly hearing.
This is connection between like joy and money. Okay, I can buy something what just brings me joy,
Mhm.
but it is also like it's so selfish, to have money when other people are poor. And I don't want to be this bad person, this selfish and just
Mhm. I love this one. I absolutely love this one because when we look at that limiting belief of, well, if I have money, then someone else doesn't, and then I'm selfish. And, we kind of walk down that line. The person who has that thought would never be selfish with more money. So I like to say that money is a magnifier, right? If you are a greedy person and you're a selfish person and you're like, oh no, this is all mine, 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 then if you get more money, you're going to be more of that person, right? But the very person who says, that seems so like selfish if I have money and someone else doesn't. What they're likely to do with more money is be more generous, to be more giving, to be more, right? It's not that you have to give it all away, but the person who thinks in the line of, well, you know, there are other people that don't have, then they find ways to share, whether that is sharing and, going out and buying someone a cup of coffee, or, going and volunteering somewhere because they have time to go volunteer somewhere and help out other people, whether it's donating money to a cause that they believe in. What we see is, in reality, when people have more money, they do more good, because you're just magnifying what's already in their heart. And that's the place where the people who don't want money, the more money we can give them, the more good they're going to do. It's a really interesting way to see how that actually plays out.
Exactly. It took me ages to understand that money are just they're neutral. It's important the energy behind it, the people
Mhm,
who what we are doing with this money, how we are using them, because these are just money. This is just a tool. You can
mhm.
get also a knife and you can, use it for cooking, or you can kill someone. And it's not that
Exactly.
knife is bad, it's
Mhm,
how you use it, and it's the same with the money.
mhm. And it's interesting because that's a, like the knife is really an easy one to see, but money has so much attached to it, right? We have so much more thoughts about money than we do about a knife that, like we use in the kitchen or whatever. And it's interesting to watch how all that then plays out, and how we think through the rest of that.
And I have one or had one belief, one more from these many, like it's not spiritual, to want money. This is like, you just need to meditate, and money are just, it's so, you know I'm not that person. It's just not the right to even to want money, not yet like to be rich. So what
Mhm,
can you how you
mhm,
can reshape this
mhm.
limiting belief?
Well, and if we think about, money and spirituality, how do we share more of the spirituality, right? We have to have money to share that message. We have to have money to, if we are like having a place where we are like meeting, that meeting place has to be paid for, right? If we have gardens that we want to go meditate in, they take money to be able to meditate in. To have a place in nature, well, it takes money to buy the land. And when we start thinking about all of the width of that, of what it takes to actually then get your message out, right? So if no one ever heard of meditating, then great, one person is very spiritual and the rest of the world, oh, you're out because I'm not going to have money to be able to share this tool. So if you think about like what it would take if there was something new like meditation to share it with the world, it takes an avenue to do that. And that avenue typically takes money to fund it. And so it becomes this like, okay, but I don't want to be I don't want to be one of those people. But when you really look at it, it goes back to money touches everything. And so, in order to share more of that spirituality with other people, more money in the recording and the promotion and the like getting this message out there means more people hear it and more people are touched by it and more people's lives have more ease and more peace and more joy in them. And so when we think about the vehicle for getting spirituality out into the world, that takes some type of funding. If we want to keep it to ourselves, then no, we don't need any money. But if we want to share the gift with the world, well, that takes money. And if we make money just a medium of exchange, so when you exchange this gift with the world, if money comes to you, then you've exchanged your energy in putting all this together for money coming in. And so it becomes there's a benefit for someone else and they exchange money for that benefit, right? We think about going to the grocery store. And when we go to the grocery store, great, some farmer grew all of these wonderful vegetables for me and I can just go in because I don't have the greenest thumb and I'm not super good at growing stuff. So I can exchange money for that and I get these beautiful vegetables. So it just becomes an exchange rather than anything else.
These limiting beliefs could also then prevent us from making money with what we love. This was my problem or my challenge for a long time, because there were still these limiting beliefs. So I was trying, I'm here with all my gifts. I want to serve. I want to, I don't know, save the world and just do
Mhm,
good.
mhm,
And I still wasn't able to receive. So to
mhm.
make money with what I love, how we can help with this.
Well, and I think that's a huge thing. I want to share this gift with the world. I want to serve the world. But in order to do that, we go back to what we were talking about earlier. It takes money to do that, right? It takes money to be able to share this gift with the world. And one of the things that I find like with my clients that's the easiest thing to do is look at, okay, what part of your work is free and available to everyone? What part of your work is kind of in that mid range? And what part of your work is like that private one-on-one work with you where you're really diving deep with them? And so you look across that spectrum and like the summit, that's something that's free to everyone, right? So there is a place where they can get that help. But then to get into these next levels with you, it becomes, there's a payment attached to that that allows you to continue to fund the free work. And the more money you make, the more of that work you're able to do.
Yes, thank you for explaining that. And we were talking about also about like connection between money and productivity. Can you
Mhm,
share your ideas on this topic? Because it's also like kind
mhm.
of new idea.
Lots of times we procrastinate the stuff that if we did would put our message out further to more people or would bring more money to us, all of these. So and then we're there and we're stuck and we're like, if I was just more productive, I'd be fine, right? I would be reaching more people. And so then we do all these things like time block our calendars and we put all these like reminders in our calendar, like, and if you're like me, the reminder comes up and you just silence it. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Silence, like, oh yeah, oh, I had time blocked to, do a message to put out on social media to share with the world. Oh, but I can do that later. I'll do this now. And so we start to just like remember all the things and we find ourselves procrastinating. And I call it sometimes fake working, meaning we're doing stuff, but it's not the work that gets our message out in the world. I called it fake working because I was at my desk, I was doing stuff, but it wasn't the important stuff. And I realized, well, but wait, what would I do if I had time? Then I would actually be able to go do all those things that I really want to do. And then I had to realize that there was a part of me that didn't feel that I was worth being able to go do all those things that I wanted to do. So the way I never had to deal with the self-worth piece was I called it fake work. I mean, it was work, but it wasn't the things that really needed to be done. And then I had to realize that there was stuff in me that kept me from thinking that it was okay for me to do those things. And it was one of those, the light bulb came on and it was like, oh, okay, that's it. You don't really believe that those are for you. They're for somebody else, right? Same as like the rich people. Oh, that's for somebody else. And once I work through that, I'm like, okay, I work 20 hours a week. And that's what I do. And then I have this time to do these other things that I want to do, and I can actually go do them because I realized that the procrastination had nothing to do with what I was doing, but it had to do with this other piece over here. So when you're procrastinating anything, look and see, if you weren't procrastinating, what would happen and what would having that mean for you, and are you okay with that? And not the surface level, am I okay with that, but that deeper, you know if you had a whole bunch of money come in, would you actually be able to keep that money and use it in a way, or would you get rid of it because it's too much money and that's rich people and that's quick, 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 get away with it? Like, so when we start to really dig into those deeper things, of course, the first answer is always like, well, of course you'd want to travel more, and you'd have time to do that. And then it's, well, why am I not doing that? Oh, now I see why I'm not doing that, because I don't believe I'm worthy of that. So it's a really interesting, and because it's subconscious, it's not the stuff that's out there in the front, because naturally, who wouldn't want to travel more? Who wouldn't want to, you know, sit and have a cup of tea in the back patio in the garden? And so when you start, like, you have to dig the layer underneath that. And I think that's where we really start to see that more ease and more joy and all of that really coming forward.
Each problem or anything always ends up with like inner work. Like, look
Inner work
just
is always
within
the
and
answer.
yes. So, and what is your suggestions how we can improve our relationship with money?
So I think if we look at improving our relationship with money, if we look at where are the most likely places where they're blocked. So when we uncover any of those blocks and release any of those blocks, then if we look at it as a cycle, so there's ease and joy and productivity and money, like whatever you want to call that cycle. So if we have more ease, meaning we're able to let go of the work hard, the hustle, the grind, that block, more ease allows us to have more joy. So when we get to joy, if there's a block around, self-care, or it's okay to be happy, and we're able to let go of that block, well, then we're naturally more productive, because when we sit down to do work, we believe that it's okay for us to have those things. And then in, believing that we can let go of the procrastination, because we see, oh, now I know why I'm procrastinating. And then when we get over to money and we look at it, okay, like self-worth, not good enough, and we clear those, when every time we go around and we clear some of those pieces, we have more ease, we have more joy, we have more productivity, we have more money, which allows us to do more of the things we want to do. And so it just becomes this cycle. Money touches every area of our lives. And so any place where we can dive in, look at a limiting belief around money, when we clear that limiting belief, everything else, has more flow to it.
It's interesting how is everything is connected.
Hmm. And it's interesting because there are things that we can then hire out. Like we can delegate or hire out things that we don't enjoy doing, or we remove the tension of money from our relationships. And when we remove the tension of money from the relationship, well, the relationship naturally gets better. Or when we bring in and we plant more flowers in our garden, we have a more enjoyable environment, and that makes our life better. And so when we start looking at it not from that, like I've got to make money side that we were talking about earlier, and pull it into, okay, what would money provide? And, kind of flip it over on its head and say, oh, well, if I planted, a bunch of daisies here in my garden and I got to enjoy those, well, that makes my life just much more enjoyable. Like, I can cut some of them and I can bring them in and I can set them in my office and I can look at them while I'm working. And that makes me more productive because it's a beautiful environment. I mean, we just have to kind of look at things from a different perspective. And that begins to shift. And it's like, oh, okay, well, more money means I can buy more daisies. Daisies make me happy. Right. So it's just a different way of walking through it.
I
Mhm.
think we need also to like redefine what does success mean, because it's not only about like to make more money, but just
Right. Right.
enjoy life more and
Mhm.
work with
And
more
and
ease.
that's a huge thing, redefining the success piece means looking at, success for one person means, a house at the beach that overlooks this. Success for another person is like, hey, I want to go tent camping like 6 months out of the year. And so if we take those two and we say success looks like either or, it's that, what is it that I want for me, not what does somebody else tell me that I should want. It's exactly what you're doing here, showing up to expand that, like, how do you have more ease and joy and productivity and all those things in your life.
Yes. And this is something what I would like to talk about it more, like create a new vision of what does success mean, or how we can just live better as a society, like change the rules and just live with more ease and enjoy, and create like a new standard for us, like not to make more money, but just live with more ease and joy, and just ask what brings me joy, who am I, what makes me happy, what's your idea about how we can live more joyfully with like different our
Mhm,
different view on money and
mhm,
just
mhm,
this topic.
mhm, mhm. And to me, it is start with, what is your dream? Like, what is it you want your life to look like? Because if we start with, what do you want your life to look like? Then we can step into, okay, what are your values? What are your priorities? And then your money becomes the next piece. So when we start with your dream, whatever that looks like, that could be your purpose, that could be your why, that could be like, I want to, this is the life I want to live. And we pair that with your values, right? This is what's important to me. And then we pair that with your priorities. And then we look at, okay, what money does that take? What do we need to be doing in this piece over here to make sure these other three happen? So money becomes the follower rather than the leader. And right now, money is the leader, but people have zero idea of what they want, right? Like, you used to ask somebody, like, what do you want? And they're like, I want $1 million. Okay, great. What are you going to do with $1 million? Well, I don't know, but I want $1 million. Like, oh, but it's just like, what is that going to do for you? You may need more than that. You may need less than that. But it becomes this like, oh, I start way over here rather than starting here, which is, okay, what is it that I want? Because to camp 6 months out of the year doesn't take as much money as it does to have a house on the beach. So if I want to camp 6 months out of the year, then I don't need over here what someone else does who wants to have a luxury house on the beach. And it becomes, when we start here, then we know what the money is for. But when we start with money, it's like, it's just money for money's sake, rather than starting here and saying, okay, in order for me to not work for 6 months and go tent camp, I need this much money. Great. Now I've got this much money. I can go do this thing that I absolutely love to do. Okay, great. I want to be by the pretty blue water on an island somewhere. That takes this much money. Now I have a reason for this. And my dream is connected to my values and what's important to me. So, when the dream and the values are connected, then the rest of it is like, oh, okay, this makes sense. I want to get this message out to the world as your starting place. It takes this much money to do that. Well, then this much money is not a big deal anymore, whether that is millions and millions of dollars or $100. We get to see like it, but this is my purpose. And so starting with what it is that you really want, and the money is like the fourth step rather than the first step, we get to really see a whole different world.
Exactly. Do you have some quick tip or something tangible where to start for our audience to like let them with something tangible?
So I would say super tangible. Look at what it is that you actually desire to have. Like if we're going to start with one thing, start making a list of what it is that you really want, what's important to you. And um, we'll do the dream life blueprint that I have as well as a gift. And that's a great way to start and just walk through that. It asks several questions to just go through, and you just answer the questions, and it's something you want to kind of soak on for a couple of days. Like, go in and answer it and then look again and answer it again. And it will give everyone the place to begin to dive into, what is it I really want? What is it I really want? What am I looking for? So that you can start over here and then back into that. So I would say that would be the number one thing to do, is to just look at what is it you really want. And the number two thing is then, what have I been told over the course of my life that says that that's not available to me, and deal with those limiting beliefs. So those would be I would say, figure out what you want, and then look very carefully at the things that you believe to be true about that, and look and see, are they actually true, or are they just the things that you heard first that became true because they were the first thing you heard.
Exactly. Oh, thank you very much. So I believe this was inspirational for our audience and something what we can like think about and sit about it. I don't mean like think about, just to let it sink into the heart and just
Mhm.
perceive and just start this discovery journey about our limiting beliefs so we can just thrive in our life and have more joy and live with more ease. So
Yes.
thank you very much, Belisa. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.